Hello, everybody, and welcome to Whispers Radio here on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 6:09 p.m., 85 degrees here in downtown Wheeling. Give us a call, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600. I'm Jordan Klein. Here today is Nick Queen, Brandon Palmer, Lola Miller. Are you going to talk at all? No? Okay, and a mystery shopper.
Okay, what color is she on? Or would be on if she were actually speaking?
Green.
No, green.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's on green.
All right, last chance. I'm turning it off.
Go ahead.
All right. There you go.
All right, it's a crazy thing, Lola, I got to tell you.
Oh, God.
So, me and Mike Drzejko
Oh, God, already.
got this crazy idea that we're going to be in the movie. The one that they're filming out there.
Yeah.
So we're like, what's the best way to do it? So, for those of you that don't know, they're J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg are filming Super 8 out in Weirton.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I auditioned for that.
J.J. Abrams?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well, see, listen,
yeah.
hold on. I got to tell you who I ticked off yesterday.
Oh, brother. What?
Well, listen, it's
J.J. Abrams?
okay. Not only did we drive through a
that's
$150 million movie set, we interrupted filming.
Oh, God.
And they stopped filming, and you hear on like all the security guys' radio, like the director yelling, like, "Get them out of here! We're filming!" Blah blah. You know. So okay, well the director's yelling. Who's the director? Right. So we ticked off J.J. Abrams, and he was yelling at us.
If this
on
was
the
just
radio.
background stuff, it was a Unit 2 director.
Whoa, you didn't. You
I don't know.
you made
Are
some...
you crushing my dreams?
I am. I don't want J.J. Abrams mad. I want a part in this darn thing.
Well, he couldn't see our
I
faces.
auditioned for it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it?
He's screaming, Lola Miller made me do it. Lola,
Yeah, you probably
L-O-L-A.
had that, carrying a sign.
Barho number 2.
Hey, I put that on my resume. I am proud of that.
But it was cool. Like we went and we took them CDs, hopefully trying to get the band to get a
While
song.
you were being roughed up by the cops?
Well, no, we found the production
Oh.
trailer. Or
How did it end up
office.
going?
They were like, "Thanks."
That was pretty much it.
Like, all right.
Thanks. Now please leave the set.
Get out of here. Who we got?
It is our guest.
Oh, that was quick.
Yes,
All right,
it
Nikki, why don't
was.
you introduce our guest?
Quick. All right. Well, hit the wrong button. So.
Caught you off guard.
Yeah, I did. Father Sebastian, most commonly referred to as simply Father, one of the central personalities of the vampire subculture. Joined the community in 1992. Is known as Sabretooth Master Fangsmith, the Endless Night Vampire Ball Impresario, and author of I'm going to destroy this name, so
Yes,
I'm trying my
you are.
best. Sanguinomicon. There you go. You say it a lot better than I do. How are you doing,
writing it thing.
Father Sebastian?
I'm rocking and rolling, man.
There we go. Well, it's glad to have you here. Now you're in Paris, correct?
Yeah, we.
So you have no.
I don't know if you could say that on American radio.
I
Can you
had
say?
Yeah, no, I had to double check.
We have to mute that.
So what got you into Paris? Because you're not from Paris, right?
No, it's all the women, man. It's all the women.
Like the whole Twilight thing's booming, and you like throw on
No,
some
no, this
like
is
glitter
before
body
Twilight.
paint and run out there.
No, this is really about French girls.
You know, some guys will go to great lengths.
I work on it, man. I work on it.
So I mean, the Paris nightlife. Then that's your big reason for moving to Paris. How's it been so far?
Man. They're very intense.
Now, is this how long have you been in Paris?
About a year.
Yeah, so now, where were you at before? Was there another, I guess, scene you were part of?
Amsterdam, is that intense enough for you?
There we go. Yeah, Amsterdam's comparison better than Paris.
Quieter.
Quieter.
But more intense. I don't know. It's two different worlds, man. I mean, it's like the European countries are really trying to find their identities in their equilibrium of the European Union.
Uh-huh.
And it's really interesting because it's kind of like sitting there during George Washington's time and watching the colonies try to figure out how they have to interact with each other. Because, Virginians were Virginians and Georgians were Georgians and New Jerseyites were New Jerseyites. And And Bostonians were Bostonians, while Massachusetts people were Massachusetts people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it evolved, out west. So it's a very interesting story. And that's the story of our country.
Uh-huh.
And it's really interesting sitting here and watching it be reborn again.
No, I gotta ask. Okay, now everybody sees Vampire, right? Because all this Twilight crap's coming out now, and it's huge, and that's what people here in the States. I don't know. Do you even have Twilight over there?
Yeah, 1 out of every 2 people watch Twilight in this country.
Oh, jeez.
No, actually,
you poor thing.
No, actually, I think it's quite the opposite. The disadvantage, when you look at the Wiccans and the esoteric people, and there's a revolution going on in the United States, and it's a spiritual revolution. And the people that are in their 20s and 30s,
mm-hmm.
who remember being in high school and being called a fag or we go all the way back to Columbine and the pain that was released at that day.
Uh-huh.
And it was a really horrible day because the jocks who abused Gothic people
mm-hmm.
Were subjected to a very horrible fascist concept. And it was really intense. It was really sad. And Michael Moore got to make a movie on it that...
Bowling for Columbine.
And, what was very interesting is you look at Lord of the Rings, a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and it's directly related to Columbine.
How so?
Well, I think that what was very interesting is that when I was in high school, I was a very quiet person.
Mm-hmm.
And people called me a fag and a gay, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gay. I just like freaking swords and dwarfs and elves and all that stuff. I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I think that means that you're an intellectual. And there's various cultures like the beatnik culture, and I know a lot of the vampire culture will not understand this concept because it was very in the 1960s. And the main reason why I moved to Paris was for Jim Morrison.
It's really fun. We had somebody actually ask, vampire and everything. Had you dug up Jim Morrison's grave?
Of course not.
Well, the answer, of course, is yes. And then,
so Jim Morrison, because he is, for people that don't know, he's actually buried in Paris, correct?
Yes, of
Okay.
course. Père Lachaise Cemetery.
Okay, now how far have you? I'm taking you visit quite a bit, maybe.
I've run a Jim Morrison tour, but it's off the books because the vampires and the goths and the Wiccans wouldn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Exactly because of course we have you on here because you're with the vampire subculture, but at the same time you have your own interests and so forth.
Jim Morrison's my god, next to Hugh Hefner.
Next to Hugh. I get Hugh Hefner. Then why Jim Morrison?
The Doors, man.
Well,
Doors.
No, a lot of people say I look like Val Kilmer, and he actually sung the songs in the movie with Oliver Stone.
Uh-huh.
But the reality is that what I'm really, really, really frustrated with is the genius people in America are the people that play Dungeons and Dragons, that were the people that went to Penzic War and went into the Wiccan culture and got their fangs and played Vampire the Masquerade. And these people are the future of America. And they call it a hyper-real religion. A couple of years ago, I don't know how recent it was, but in England, they voted Jedi as a real religion.
Really?
Yeah, of course. And
Nick
the dark
would be
side.
all over that.
Yeah.
Well, you need 6,000 people to make a legal religion in the United Kingdom.
Oh, really?
Of course, yeah. And what was very interesting is that 500 of that 7,000 people that voted for the dark side. I think, when I look back at as a chaos magician.
Now, what does that mean?
Oh, that's a long story.
Okay, briefly, what does that mean?
It means that belief is a tool.
Okay.
And that faith is irrelevant, and that magic is psychology. And, you know, when you look at Newton, and I was reading in 50 Cent, you know 50 Cent?
Yeah, we know 50 Cent.
Yeah, 50 Cent's a badass motherfucker.
Oh, okay. We're on the radio, so you can't say that.
Hello?
I had to. It's got to recharge.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll call him back.
We're taking a break.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a break.
We'll be right back on Whispers Radio. Oh.
Gotta free my mind, get you out of sight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Whispers Radio. Sorry about that. Had a little interruption. Father Sebastiaan, you still with us?
Hey, what's up?
There we go. Now, let's talk about what a vampire is, because it's not exactly like the blood-sucking, teleporting, turning into a bat kind of monster. Like, what is a vampire?
Well, it depends on your definition. I apologize for my French. I am calling from France. The interesting thing is that there's many definitions of vampires. The funny thing is that the real perspective of vampirism is vampirism is an action. It's a duty. It's a way of applying yourself and interacting in life. One of the really interesting points of it is that you live. And what really is funny is I saw a T-shirt the other day that said evil on the front. And I was really weirded out because I am a Christian. And the back of the T-shirt said live. And backwards, evil is live. And that was, it creeped me out a little bit, because I'm from a very conservative family, and when I saw that, life is, when you live life, really, you have a sense of humor.
Okay.
And when you have a sense of humor, you see things in a very funny way. You always look at things with humor. And living in France, people are very serious. The French are very serious about everything. Be it their food or their approach to life or their politics. And what was weird was when I moved here was on 9/11. And I saw the towers fall in New York, and it really broke my heart.
And you were in Paris then, or you were?
No, I was actually in New York.
Okay.
On 9/11. And I was, as a patriot and a Republican and a Christian, I was looking at the towers fall, and I saw things change very dramatically. And what was really the scariest thing of this was that the interpretation of what it was to be a conservative was very interesting, because it became more intense. It became more defined. And when you were in a very cosmopolitan area, like we always say in New York, our Democrats are real, our Republicans are Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a very political person. However, I grew up knowing that what was very important was the ability to take care of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first priority of any American, is your family comes first. And be it your mother, your father, your children, everything like that. What was very curious was when the World Trade Center was attacked, I sat there in Brooklyn, and I saw the towers fall. And I saw a tremendous amount of energy be released, and the other people that I tried to talk to couldn't understand what I was talking about.
What are you, explain for us?
Well, when you're an energy sensitive and you're awakened to more subtle things that are more echoes in the world, be it what you would call paranormal. And why do you think after 9/11, all of these in America, the paranormal shows became so popular? Is because people started being concerned with what was more subtle. And the subtle elements of this world are the echoes that exist.
Okay.
It's really, really hard to explain. When you think of paranormal before 9/11, you think of, ghosts and, a tree that's haunted, or Gettysburg with the ghosts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Afterwards, a lot of people didn't pay attention to what was going on. And when I was sitting there watching 9/11, I was a witness to it, a living witness, as were 24 million Americans.
Yeah.
And it was the most dramatic thing I've ever seen. And as a child who was born of a Vietnam veteran who saw these things, what was very interesting is that the American people and everybody I talked to in Europe or everywhere else remembers that day. And these are realities. And what touches me is that the esoteric community doesn't touch these realities. They look at other things. And I remember walking across to the graveyard. There was a graveyard at the church across from Ground Zero, and a lot of people talked about hearing and seeing a lot of the paranormal activity that would happen there. And then that Nicolas Cage movie came out about the Freemasons, and it's just, since 9/11, there's been a tremendous amount of interest in the paranormal and spirituality. Now, vampirism begins with the awareness of the subtle world.
Okay.
To hear the echoes of these things. However, each vampire has their own interpretation, and I would classify them in three categories. There's the psychic vampires who feel that they have an energy deficiency.
Now, see, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Kind of like suck the energy out of people.
And what's interesting is before 9/11, that was a very bad thing. It was a negative thing. If you were a psychic vampire, you were bad. You were wrong. You were just a parasite. After 9/11, what was very curious is that you were not a parasite.
Now, how's that work?
You were aware of your energy problems.
Okay.
I think that 9/11 really changed the frequency of the world. And it's really hard to explain because the experience of 9/11 was what drove me to go back to my ancestral lands. I'm of Dutch descent, and the Dutch were very involved in the founding of New York. And as a New Yorker, this city is so important to me. I had to discover my roots. And I just could sit there and watch the change in human frequency as the towers fall. I mean, I could hear them. I could see them.
Yeah.
I was there. I was present. And I remember waking up and getting on AOL, and I thought it was a practical joke. And I walked out onto Kent Avenue in Brooklyn, which was actually in a movie. There was a couple movies about it that actually filmed on that street. And the military was there before the towers actually started falling. I mean, the response was so fast. It creeped me out. And all the conspiracy stories that I saw were in a different, mindset.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's, one world government or, all this guy in England, David Inkins or whatever his name is absolutely accurate. But the frequency of humanity changed that day. Yeah. And it was very interesting. I got my girlfriend on the phone. She was a bartender, and I said, come on, get out of bed because the World Trade Center just blew up, and she didn't believe me. And as an energy sensitive, she jumped out of bed. And I think that people who are energy sensitives have a very difficult life because they're aware of something, but the rationality of life tells them something different. And it was very interesting to see the rationality of life change that day.
Yeah, Nick, you had a question?
Yeah, now you were already, I guess, a vampire at this point. You had already, I guess, awakened to it. Because
other people disagreed with me. There was many psychic vampires that didn't agree with me.
Now, is that what you are before we go any? Are you a psychic vampire?
No, I'm not a psychic vampire. What-
Okay.
No, he drinks blood like the normal ones. Right?
No, I'm actually further than that. I used to be a blood drinker. I found it very, very inefficient for the amount of energy that I needed.
Now, how does that? How did like? Were you like biting people?
Like
I just want to. I want to
Understand.
for my own.
And from the beginning of my experience with vampirism, people told me that psychic vampires and blood drinkers were limited.
Okay.
And I was very curious. I was like, really? That's very, very interesting because that's not what I'm experiencing. And what I wanted to find out was, why is there something more? What is the height of life? And people kept telling me, life is great. Life's amazing. I mean, there's so much out there. You just got to find it and hear it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't understand what that meant. And the point is there's an old Romanian word called strigoi or strigoi. I've heard various pronunciations of it, which means living vampire, which means that you live off the light frequency of Earth. And humanity is one of the greatest frequencies of that. I have a complete, absolute confidence that humanity is going to be one of the most successful species that Earth has ever seen. And never do I have a doubt in humanity's success.
Now, just because I like to push a little bit,
Sure.
where did you get your blood?
My wife.
Oh, is she like still around or?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
totally cool. She worked for Playboy at the time. She was great, but the thing is that I think that blood drinking is the amount of health risks that you can encounter from that is so extreme that it's not really a viable way of ingesting energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really love someone and really care for them, why would you take that extreme amount of energy from them?
No,
that they use for the
was she taking your blood too? Like, were you like sharing?
No, not at all. It was very interesting. A lot of the process of doing it was because at the time the fetish community was very strong in New York, and it still is, in a different way. And the vampire culture really did not embed itself in the Gothic culture. It embedded itself in the fetish culture.
Okay.
Because the fetish people were very, very responsible. A lot of doctors, lawyers, professionals, and they were always discreet and responsible. Today, I don't think that the vampire culture, with its blood drinking, is responsible. I think it goes on television and it projects things that should be sacred between monogamous couples or very deep experiences, and that it is profane in a way.
Now, do you think that, something that's, you get True Blood, you get Twilight, I think Vampire Diaries is another show that's on now, and all these different shows that show this, and I don't want to say the culture because it's not showing the culture, but it's showing, the vampire, out there, in front of everybody.
Mythology.
Yeah, the mythology, and that attracts people to, well, I want to be just like Edward, or, insert your name, whatever vampire you like. Do you think that's kind of degraded the vampire culture in a way?
Not at all. I think it's complemented.
Okay, so but how do you see more people coming to it though that aren't responsible?
Do people come into it and then get disappointed that they can't like run really fast and stop cars?
I think those are hallucinations.
Okay.
The reality comes down to, do you love life or not?
Yes.
And vampires have always been, from Bram Stoker, who redefined the culture, to Anne Rice, to even with the True Blood and the Twilight concepts, have been a very conservative yet liberal perception.
Lola likes True Blood.
Well, I think True Blood is, what's great about True Blood is it takes the humor. It makes fun of the most... vampirism is a conservative experience.
How so is that? I mean, you keep saying conservative versus liberal. Of course, you're talking conservative in, United States kind of ideas, correct? Or are you...
I'm trying to... I've been gone from the States for 5 years.
Sure, well, I'm just trying to...
My perception is very different.
Okay.
I'm a big Bill Maher fan.
Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I really try to stay in touch with American culture, but
Sure.
I'm embedded in the French culture so deeply that their perceptions are, it's all about your conditioning. And the United States is one of the greatest countries that ever existed. And my religion is the American Constitution.
Sure. Well, what I'm trying to just decide, when you say it's a conservative,
What's conservative about, like...
yeah, I'm not talking about United States per se, but what do you mean by when you say it's a conservative? Can you give me kind of a idea of what you mean there?
I think that conservative means that you try to hold on to old values.
Okay.
Well, liberal means that you try to embrace new ideas.
Okay.
And
So
try
just
to
so we
bring
know
them
we're on the
to-
same page. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that freedom is the ability to bring in new ideas without disrespecting the old ones. And vampirism is a very diverse concept. I'm giving you a very unique interview, specifically because of my perspective being outside of the United States.
We appreciate that.
And I think that the United States is the greatest country that's ever existed, and it is the new Rome. And every culture that ever existed needs a leader. And we are that leader right now. And the echoes of what we do will be a part of the next 2,000 years. Every move we make is going to be recorded, just like Rome was. And we need to be honest to ourselves that this is the example that we're leaving. And the concept of being a vampire is always being on the front of that. People talk about psychic vampirism and blood drinking. That's not the vampirism I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about evolution. Vampires are the next level of human evolution.
Let's talk about your book.
Sure.
I can't pronounce it. Nick, you want to give it a go?
Sanguinomicon.
Sanguinomicon, based on the Necronomicon by H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay. Now let's talk about what's in it. What is it? It's a lexicon for vampires. Is that?
What it is that the last 10 years, people have understood vampirism in an energy deficient or blood drinking way, and not an evolutionary point. And all the book is intended to do is challenge and inspire. It's not intended to dictate or tell people what they have to do, because according to my interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
vampirism is a challenge. It's an opportunity. It's a point of freedom. And it's a very American concept.
Now, I've heard, I was reading some reviews, and people are calling your book like the Bible of vampirism.
I don't agree with that. I think it's a Necronomicon of vampirism.
Now, when you say Necronomicon, can you kind of...
The Book of the Dead. Didn't you watch Evil Dead?
I know what Necronomicon is. Gosh. What do you mean by that, though, is what I'm trying to get at, I guess.
Death is the enemy of us all.
Sure.
And there's a new movement in America. It's not specifically American, but it is specifically an Anglo, which means Anglo-Saxon concept of, cryonics and living forever and everything like that. It is a super religious idea, which means it's away from religion. It's a concept that's free of religion. And it is the idea that we can, through science, prolong human existence beyond the barriers of what we know today.
No.
And the idea of vampirism has always been power, love, passion, sensuality, sexuality. I mean, you go on and on about Bram Stoker's vision of it, Anne Rice's version of it. Look at Anne Rice. In the 1970s, she talked about homosexuality. And look at today. It's a very different world.
So when you say it's an evolution, I mean, I guess then you have to compare, you have the vampire here that's going to be where they're, the aim, I guess. Whereas you have regular humans. So what needs to change? What's the difference between a regular human, average guy walking down the street and, the vampire, I guess, ideal that, that they're heading towards, that they're evolving
Can Lola put on a cowboy hat and go out there with you? Can she be a vampire?
It's really a choice. You have to make a decision.
Okay.
Do you want to continue and evolve and move forward, or do you want to stay stagnant?
Okay. Well, I mean, so it sounds like anybody can become a vampire to some extent.
It's not that simple.
Okay.
And for me, the vampire culture that exists today, or I would say the vampire community, not necessarily the culture, because it doesn't really have culture. It doesn't have music or art or dance or forms. You know, when you look at Canadian culture or French culture, American culture, it has all these different points.
Sure.
You know, the thing that really freaks me out in France is they say we have no culture as Americans. And I laugh at them, and I'm like, then why are you eating a cheeseburger? Why are you going to McDonald's every day? Why are you wearing blue jeans? Why are you dancing to rock and roll?
Well, the French can be kind of snooty because they look at culture as more a high class kind of thing, and those are all kind of debasing.
I think all Europeans are like that.
Yeah.
You
No,
know, I
not
mean,
all of them are.
world started in Europe. We're just.
No, America's not all started in Europe. Only about 75% of us. There's the other 25% that started in other cultures that made us the greatest country in the world. I mean, there was the 24 European countries that came together to form the United States originally, from the Italian immigrants and the Irish immigrants.
Uh-huh.
And we also have to honor the Native Americans, and we have to even honor just as equally the Japanese, the Chinese, all the cultures that brought our country together. We are a conglomerate of the world, and this is one of the greatest honors in history. It is a deep and profound honor. Who built the train tracks that crossed the United States in the 1860s?
Chinese.
And the Irishmen.
Exactly. And look at the Chinese today.
Yeah, I see. You know, I see where you're coming from there. So, I guess my question then is, you know, as somebody that, you know, you're wanting to reach others to kind of give them the idea of what being a vampire is, what not the culture, but the lifestyle would probably be the best way of saying it.
I know I'm not giving you the interview that you generally expected.
No.
Have you ever heard the show before?
We're pretty laid back, so.
No, that's cool. That's cool. The thing is that vampires are always the true vampires, in my opinion, this is my perspective, are always on the next step of evolution. They're always looking for something more, and they're always stepping in a way that culture doesn't expect. And it all comes down to energy. And humans generate the highest frequency of energy. And vampires have to be above that. They have to be, just like any business person or any individual who is trying to create something, what they need to do is they need to be one step ahead. And they got to be the inspirators as well as the recipients of that. And the vampire mythology that we know in America with Anne Rice and the Irishman, I think it was Irish, Bram Stoker, we're always one step ahead of thought. And we dance in a world that is really a unique story today because we're moving so fast with the internet and technology that's all energy. You know, money is a funny story because it's called currency. Mm-hmm. And we are living in an experience that is currency. You know, what I laugh at is I was sitting with the ambassador from Kenya the other day.
Uh-huh.
It was about 6 weeks ago, I think, at this date. And what was very interesting was he was drinking alcohol. And I looked at him and I'm like, why are you drinking alcohol? And he goes, I'm Muslim, right? And I go, you're a very bad Muslim. And what was very interesting was that I looked at him and I said, why don't you just embrace your religion and enjoy it? Mm-hmm. Ride it. Live it up. Be happy with it.
Now, see, that's good advice for any religion there. You know, embrace what your beliefs are and go with it.
But don't judge other people for it. If it's something that you choose, it's your decision as an individual. If that's what you were exposed to as a child and that's something that benefits you, live it up. But don't bring it on other people. Make it a complimentary experience for other people.
Yeah.
Why do I do this? And really know why you do it.
In the few minutes we got left, I want you to go ahead and plug your store. You got a one in Paris. Do you have one here in the States too? Sabretooth, is that you?
Yeah, no, I make fangs. And what is the greatest honor in my life is to make fangs for all these amazing people from around the world that love the vampire mythology. I know that the people that I sit with for an hour while I make them fangs have tempered and developed who I am as an individual. And the opportunity to make 5 pairs of fangs for people today from every different background you can imagine. I made fangs for Arabian princes to Chinese members of the Chinese Communist Party, to Japanese rock stars, to American diplomats. And the concept of who I am has been because of them. And all of them love the concept of the vampire. And the book that I've written, Sanguinomicon, is their kind of spiritual agreement.
Now, how do people get up with you if they want things?
Well, they can go to sabretooth.com, www.sabretooth.com, kind of spelled like the comic book character.
There we go.
The greatest thing about it is each person comes as an individual with their own story, and they all bring it to the fang table, as we say. And in the end of the day, it's one of the most amazing things in the world, and it makes me an alien to the rest of the world because what the vampire concept is something unapproachable and unattainable, but very, very, very attainable.
I was going to say, I'm looking actually at your website here. Rates, your rate for the fangs is $99. That's 2 fangs. I mean, that's, actually a lot more inexpensive than I thought. Now, is this like a, what am I trying to say? Like a, I don't want to say dentures, but...
Are they implants? Or can you
No,
take them out,
they're not permanent. You can
Okay.
take them off and go to work. You can take them off and show your mom your teeth. The great thing is they're not permanent, but I've had customers come back after 10 years, and it's been an honor to make, like, second generation and third generation. I'd make grandkids fangs.
Now, do you ever do anything for, people that you're making movies, TV shows?
We're working on a TV show based on this concept.
Okay.
And it's still in development, but I can't really talk about much about it because of contract stuff.
No, not a problem. I understand that.
And it's a lot of fun. And as a fangsmith, you're an alien to the world, specifically because those people that you meet and you sit there while they hold their lips up and you put acrylic on their teeth, and you think it's going to be like nothing, like for Halloween, but it really changes you.
Really?
And because you become very intimate with these people, because being a fangsmith is the greatest honor I know, next to being a president or a public servant. And what is really deep about it is that these people leave an imprint on you. And I got the ability to travel the world doing this. And I've only traveled half the world. And I just got invited to Japan.
There you go.
Now, also, real quick, I want to mention the Endless Night Vampire Ball. I see here that you have it in New Orleans. Where was that list again? New Orleans, Paris, New York, Miami. Which actually has me a question. Vampires themselves, the people in this lifestyle, which city would have the most vampires? I know we have listeners. I know in New Orleans, of course, New York. Which city would have, I guess, the highest population?
I would say first New York, of course. Maybe Barcelona second.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Barcelona is probably one of the most vampiric cities I've ever seen in a positive way, not a negative way, of draining energy but complementing each other's energy. The city with the most lawyers would probably be, after New York, Los Angeles. But it really depends on what frequency of vampire you're discussing.
Okay.
And vampirism, in my opinion, is the concept of taking the energy of humans collectively and channeling it consciously into something.
Okay.
Or channeling it according to a need.
Now, and then this vampire ball, the Endless Night Vampire Ball, what exactly is that? If somebody wanted to go to it, what would they need to do? And what would they, what should they expect?
Well, it's an adventure. Going to the Endless Night Vampire Ball is a pilgrimage. If you have whatever concept of vampires you have, you're welcome, and you come and celebrate. New Orleans is one of the, of course, Anne Rice, I'm talking, previously I was talking about the frequencies of vampirism from the inside perspective. But from the outside perspective, New Orleans is the place to be for Halloween.
Yeah, we have the guy that runs this, I don't want to say station, but the syndicate we're on, he's from New Orleans, and he would agree with you 100%.
And New Orleans, even without the vampires, New Orleans is just awesome.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful, honorable city with the greatest accents, and it's a southern libertine city.
I gotta ask while there's still a couple minutes left. Nick, I guess he's a little too embarrassed to talk about it now, but before the show, he was wanting to know if maybe if he could get a pair of fangs, because he can't go to Paris and sit there while you sculpt them to his face. How could he get a pair of fangs?
Well, we just started last week with new technology from the dental industry. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Ability to do mail order fangs, and you can go to sabertooth.com, SABRETOOTH.com, and you can order the kit online, and we mail it to you. I think as of the 1st of October, it'll be a little late for us to guarantee it by Halloween, but you basically take 2 pieces of putty, you put it together, you bite into it, you mail it to us in a sterile bag, which is looks like a little biohazard bag, and then you send it back to us, and we can actually make you a pair of fangs.
So anyone around the world, they don't have to get to Paris or New York. They can do this, and you can get their fangs out to them, right?
Absolutely, and
Great.
we'd love to do it.
There you go, Nick.
There we go. Well, I'm going to put that on our webpage so people can get to that and to the Endless Night Vampire Ball, okay?
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, we are out of time. I want to thank you very much, Father Sebastiaan, for being with us on this show and letting the world know what you stand for.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much. You have a good day.
You too.
So, Nick?
I'm not getting fangs.
Why, Nick? All you got to do is send them in the mail.
Might be nice. Who knows?
Nick doesn't like me right now.
Yeah. Well, I am looking at the things. He has 6 different styles here too. Classics, Lilith, Interview, which I don't know. Is that Interview? Yeah. Beast, Classics. Okay.
What do
and
they look like? What do they look like? Are they all pretty much the same, or do some of them?
No. They've got different. Like the Beast one has things on the top, and then comes up from the bottom too.
So it's kind of
Sabretooth's kind of got a full kind of almost mouth of fangs. Vampire and kind of the classics, with the 2. What would you think of as an actual vampire? And then Interview, I have no idea what that one even means.
Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
Anne Rice,
gotcha.
Jeez, Nick.
Yeah, that's
the one guy that reads books on this show, and you didn't know that one.
I was never an Anne Rice fan, so
don't say that.
I can't help it. I like my vampires, kind of the Bram Stoker style.
I like my vampires with a glitter finish.
I'm surprised they don't have, one from True Blood.
Yeah. How were they?
He might actually go towards that.
Because people are different. Depending on the vampire, their fangs are all different on that show.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's almost as unique as their personality, kind of. And that would probably be closest to, because not everybody got the same one.
Pop.
Now, Lola, you were very quiet during this interview.
I had to be careful.
Yeah, I understand.
Don't even.
Was it anything like you thought it was going to be, or was it more? I don't think he was too happy with us at the end there because, I don't know.
I don't really care.
I don't care either, but I don't know what you guys were expecting.
I don't know. Well, and I don't know. I don't either.
Yeah.
But, he is so full of double talk that I have no clue what the man was trying to get across.
Well, he kept wanting to talk about
none.
the United States and how it was almost like and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but very super patriotic. And I think somebody asked over here, how can you be an expatriate? Which is, one Well, he is. I mean, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
he is.
And worship the U.S. Constitution. And it's a valid question.
I don't know what the hell he was talking about.
Well, why did that matter?
Seriously, I don't know what he was talking about. And I'm not a stupid person, but I still do we know how we can become?
No.
No.
He
He
all
said
over
it
the
was
place.
unattainable, but everybody could attain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what the hell does that mean? I mean, seriously, folks. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's never a good day when Lola's confused.
Well, and, oh my
don't think
God!
I don't
he was
think any of us aren't
drinking his
confused.
wife's blood, and
Yeah.
please. I mean, it just.
Well, he said that she was in Playboy. I was going to ask if he got the blood checked first. But
Well, I liked when he said
That
his,
was just wrong, Jordan.
Yes,
that was stereotypically wrong.
I was just moving past it, but good
Yeah.
job. But Hugh Hefner and Jim Morrison are his heroes.
Well, I love Morrison. I mean, wow,
Yeah,
who
great
could you
Morrison.
not? But come on, all right, we got to go.
all right, it's time for the
Jordan.
news. Give us some feedback after the show. We'll
way
be right back.
after the show.
Hang around, CNN. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Whispers Radio here on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPR and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 7:08, 81 degrees here in downtown Wheeling. If you missed our last hour,
You're
we
lucky.
had a world-renowned LARPer, Father Sebastiaan. Live action role play? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody? Anybody?
You know what happened the last time we talked about LARPers?
We had one, didn't we?
I can't remember, but it ended up talking about furries and you riding the Christmas one of those floats with a chicken costume. So now, what is
At
it
least
exactly you
didn't
have in your
show up at the
basement now?
Convention center.
No. We need this answer, Lola.
Oh, all right.
What's in your basement now?
Oh no.
A stinky dog.
Okay, keep on going. You know exactly what I'm looking for.
I'm not answering.
It's a rabbit costume.
It's a
Well, that
Halloween
thing is neat.
costume.
That thing is neat.
Thank you.
It is very neat.
Thank you.
Is this a rabbit?
I think I actually have a
rabbit?
picture.
Yes.
I have a
We made
picture
fun
of
of him for being we were saying furry, but it was kind of feathery.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
he's a
Truly
full
a furry.
I'm a
Furry.
fluffy.
Yes, he's moved up.
It was for Grandview Park's Halloween.
It was very
Sure it
neat. I
was.
liked it.
Whatever.
It was for your fun.
What is so scary about a bunny?
Oh,
It is actually
it's
a scary,
Is it?
scary
I'll show
costume.
you after when we get to the break.
Oh, you got
Okay.
pictures?
I got a picture.
Dude,
of
run
it.
over there
Awesome.
real quick and show her.
Yeah, go show. Just don't trip over his wires.
Okay.
Just
I
walk
won't trip.
around Rachel there.
Come around this way.
Or don't. You
If
know.
he trips, I'm telling you. So Lola, how impressed are you?
Let me see what.
There's a lot of meat on that rabbit.
Oh, wow.
I've got a pair of slippers that have the two killer bunnies from Search of the Holy Grail. It'd look great on your feet. I'll borrow them.
Yeah,
to you.
wow, Jordan.
Those
Wow.
that could be your baby bunnies on your feet.
That's right.
That is wicked.
You know, can you email that to me?
I got a good picture of it. I can send to you.
I want to put that on the. People need to see this.
Yes, before they. Yeah.
So somebody actually found a link. They were telling me the vampires. One second here. This was Sandakan. He Googled because he had a question, but I didn't get to it. I can't remember exactly what the question was. Something about vampires being legal in the U.S. The U.S. was the first country to recognize vampirism as people with rights, but they have no rights to vote yet. However, I'm not exactly sure if that's the. Yeah, I don't know.
True Blood is real. See?
It
True
might
Blood's
be.
real.
It is.
I wasn't sure. It might be actually a True Blood website. He's going to send me the link. I have to see it. So, so Jordan, what did you think? I mean,
Me?
yes.
What did I think?
Yes.
Let's see. I learned that people actually, because I started off, I was like, yeah, vampires aren't people out there drinking blood and sucking whatever. And he's like,
Yeah.
I drank my wife's blood.
He didn't say it exactly that way.
Yes, he did.
In my brain, he
Pretty
did.
much.
Does it matter whether he really did or not?
That's how my brain perceived
That's
it.
right.
That's how it went.
Perception is 90% of it.
But if you are interested,
Whenever somebody says they're a vampire, they either have Count Dracula accent or they have I'm scary in the light.
Wow.
Ooh. Ooh. Well, we have our next guest
All
none
right,
too
Nikki.
soon there, Nick.
That's okay.
Before
All
I
right.
would have had to get muted.
Yes.
Yeah, please mute.
When I have to bleep you.
Now, real quick, if you got any questions for a caller or for our guest, give us a call 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, toll free 1-866-514-1600. Nick.
Okay. Drew Maris has been researching and writing about the apocalypse, 2012, and UFOs since leaving the U.S. Marine Corps in 2003. His first book, Open Your Eyes to 2012 and Beyond, reveals a clear picture of what events are likely to occur in and around 2012. Drew, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Well, I'm glad to have you on. So now I have to ask, I used to actually live in North Carolina, right near Camp Lejeune. Were you stationed in Camp Lejeune?
I did a little time in Camp Lejeune, yes, Camp Pendleton as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know Camp Pendleton as well. What did you think about the area?
I love both areas. Completely different landscape, though. It's more of a mountainous terrain where you train at in California, and then more of a swamp environment in the Carolina area.
But you got the beach there, too, so did you ever get a chance to get to the beach at least?
Very rarely did we get to the beach.
Yeah, you got to go back. It's a nice beach, so sorry to hear you didn't get there. But yeah, I know both of those places. I had to ask. Now, 2012. Last week we had a guest on. He kind of was against the whole idea, and they go back and forth. And I found 2012 was one of those. People are deeply rooted in whether they believe it's going to happen or not. He says, it's a calendar. It ended there. It's just like if you've got a desk calendar, you get to the end of the year, you don't have anything left. Of course, you're saying that that's not the case. Can you what is your general idea so we can kind of get into this, see exactly where you're at?
Well, once again, thank you for having me on your show today. And right off the bat, I'd like to start by sincerely thanking all of those crusaders who are spearheading this charge, who are at the forefront of this movement, the true pioneers and veterans who've earned their stripes fighting for a cause much greater than themselves, the individuals who have been in the trenches taking grenades in a war zone amount of flack for trying to reveal the unsugar-coated truth behind December 21st, 2012, as well as the ufology subject. So to individuals like Stephen Greer, Eric Von Daniken, who's the author of Chariots of the Gods, you've probably heard of the book.
Yeah, we had Giorgio on last week talking about that, so...
I was just about to mention him. Bill Burns, Ivan Sanderson, Stanton Freeman, and the real-life Indiana Jones, Giorgio Tsoukalos, along with the author of The Day After Roswell, Colonel Philip Corso. 1,000 thank yous to these gentlemen, because it is not easy to go against the grain, because that can obviously alienate you and put you into crosshairs for ridicule.
Mm-hmm.
But why I tailored and crafted this book, for the believer and the non-believer alike, right or wrong. Its intention was to take a baseball bat to the hornet's nest and to get people talking about these controversial subjects in debate arenas across the globe. I always saw myself as an original, not a print, and have never floated on that conveyor belt of conformity besides the Marine Corps. And I believed from the get-go that I could broach this ufology in 2012 topic from another angle to really open people's eyes with. And it was that unique blueprint and vision that I had that led me to plant the seed that led to the cultivation of my book, which is, of course, the book we're discussing right now, Open Your Eyes to 2012 and Beyond. Now, I could have made a career out of the military and joined the intelligence community, but then I'd only be a victim of my own hypocrisy in helping to conceal the truth rather than helping to reveal the truth, which is why I'm on the phone with you right now and speaking to your listeners today. So I see this right now as my continued service to this great nation and to the people of this great country, because to sin by silence when we should protest makes cowards out of men, and there need to be more people protesting this right now.
Now, how exactly did you get into this? You were in the military 2003, you got out. Were you kind of interested in this before you get into the military, or was this something you started kind of learning about, over the course of that time?
Well, I've always been passionate about the paranormal, the things that cannot be explained by scientific explanation. I've always had a knack for that since I was a young boy. But I really became solidified and cemented into my brain when I embarked on this mission several years ago when I was serving in the U.S. Marine Corps Infantry. And this is where I learned from an array of high-ranking officials, and pilots off the record, of course, that there was much, much more to this subject than is currently being portrayed to the American public. And I say off the record because for enlisted personnel to divulge top-secret classified information and intelligence is certain to tarnish or even terminate their military career. So the ones you want to ask are retired pilots and astronauts. They're the ones. And the public really needs to know that pilots and astronauts are the number one and number two witnesses to UFO activity. I mean, what these people say counts, and their words should be taken at face value. They've been thoroughly trained and conditioned to observe their surrounding airspace, and they know the fingerprints to a T of both foreign and domestic aircraft and targets. And these individuals have no reason to embellish or to fabricate lies. But the reason that I wrote this book was to raise consciousness and to raise the flag of awareness on a subject that has been perpetually murdered by disinformation and counterintelligence campaigns for far too long. Now. The truth, the clandestine black operations world believes the truth would create pandemonium, and that's the opposite of what they want. They want structure, they want order, and they know how to get it too. Obviously, they don't want people to get scared because then they pull back on the reins. They don't consume. They don't buy stocks. They don't buy real estate, and that kind of defeats the purpose of our capitalistic society. But let me tell you all listening here today that there is a very good reason why UFO and USO activity has spiked in recent years, like with the recently seen UFO over China that went viral all over the internet, all over the news forums. It's because Mother Earth herself is in trouble and about to have a temper tantrum. Something has stirred the hive, and that something is the once every 25,800-year great galactic alignment that most of us listening here today will be alive for then. And this is set to commence on December 21st, 2012. This is the end of time as we know it, I advocate. Now, these other species have seen this episode before. It's a rerun for them, and they're obviously preparing for something big. But to us, this is new. We've never seen this episode before. And if every prior 25,800-year great galactic alignment cycle ended in disaster, shouldn't we just be a little concerned about the events to come? I mean, look, there are just too many prophecies, the Maya, the Incas, the NASA, the ancient Egyptians, Bible code, the Hopi or Hopi Indians, the Black Elk or the Sioux Indians, the I Ching Oracle, Merlin, Nostradamus, St. Malachi, the Webite Oracle, Albert Einstein. The list goes on and on, all predicted from different time periods in history, hundreds to thousands of years apart from different worldwide locations that converge on 2012 to just shrug off and ignore. So we cannot just sit idly by anymore with 2012 so close. We must undo the deception.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start them from the beginning. You talk about ancient astronauts. So what you're just saying now is that these aliens are actually here. They know what's happening to the Earth. The Earth is in danger, about to be destroyed. It sounds like they've known this for a long time. So, because you talk about in your book, alien intervention with past civilizations, one of your chapters. They've been here for a while. So, how long have they known? And what are they trying? Are they trying to stop it, or are they trying to observe it? What exact role do they have, and have they had since the past?
Well, look, my book sheds light and truth, and once again, my book for everybody listening out there right now is called Open Your Eyes to 2012 and Beyond. My book sheds light and truth on the fact that Mother Earth is in trouble and is about to have a once every 25,800-year temper tantrum that will greatly affect our habitual routine of living, And this is like an answer to your question. This is like a 100,000-piece puzzle that all of us, at least the Crusaders who are advocating this cause, it's like a 100,000-piece puzzle that we're trying to put together. And when you bring all the pieces, it's a plethora of pieces. When you bring all these pieces together on the table, a picture is born, and that picture screams out cover-up. It doesn't just whisper it, but everything is indicative that UFOs and USOs are the most important item on the black world's agenda. In case people don't know what a USO is,
That's what I was about to ask.
USO is an unidentified submerged object. This falls into the naval intelligence communities. What the Navy is finding, they're not disclosing. UFOs are obviously unidentified flying object. Most people know what that is by this point in 2010, and that falls into the Air Force intelligence communities. Really, they are one and the same. It's the same craft. A USO becomes a UFO when it breaches the water surface. It's a craft that can penetrate through the mediums of ocean, our atmosphere, and space. We have nothing in our arsenal that can do all three that we know of. But like I was saying before, everything is indicative that UFOs and USOs are the most important item on the black world's agenda. And I say black world, that means black programs. They're covert, billion-dollar funded. For example, Lockheed Skunk Works. That's an example of a black program. And if UFOs and USOs are the most important item within the black world's agenda, then it should be a serious priority and major area of research within the civilian world's agenda as well. Like I said before, we cannot just sit idly by with 2012 right around the corner. We in the civilian world have got to go fishing for the biggest catch of the sea, and we're going to need to get an armada of ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, to scour the deep sea ocean floor beds. Trust me, what we will find will open our eyes to certain epiphany, and what was once learned will have to be unlearned, and we will quickly see that Western schools and universities are teaching fallacies to be the infallible truth. 1903 was not the first year of flight. Wilbur and Orville Wright were not the first, as there have been UFOs flying around in the skies and USOs in the oceans for thousands of years before that. And once you adopt the notion that ancient astronaut theory is a reality, we can finally move forward and tackle bigger issues. And Giorgio Tsoukalos was probably discussing this to a T when he was on your radio show, because he is a strong proponent for the ancient astronaut theory.
Yeah, regular guy.
But
Well,
once
like I said before, how exactly, you said that they were intervening in the past. What exactly were, because it sounds like they were here for a purpose. You say that purpose is, they're here now because the Earth is being, destroyed. How are they intervening in the past because of this?
Well, we can find that they were here from the past through numerous ways. I mean, remember, in ancient times, everybody listening right now needs to remember that in ancient times, there were no cameras, there were no iPhones or BlackBerries that somebody could just go out and buy it at Walmart or over at your Target, okay? They didn't have that back then to capture what they saw. What they saw, what primitive civilizations saw, they preserved by hieroglyphic inscriptions, paintings, tapestries, cave wall renderings, scrolls. These were their camera equivalent back in the ancient era, the more primitive eras. This was their way of taking a picture to record what they saw to pass on to future generations. Furthermore, you could go into probably once again what Giorgio Tsoukalos was discussing. Unearthed deep in the jungles of Colombia were airplane figures made entirely of gold. These Vimanas, ancient flying machines, were discovered in pre-Columbian tombs and date back to 800 to 600 BC, thousands of years before the Wright brothers took flight in 1903. And when created to exact model scale and tested, these golden Vimanas proved to be aerodynamically sound and flawless. So how in a time period of 800 to 600 BC, before Christ, were golden airplane models being conceived of? And how did these ancient civilizations even know about flying machines at this point in history? And that's really what the government does not want you to know. And I disclose that in my book, Open Your Eyes to 2012 and Beyond. I mean, when will we look to the past understand that UFOs are old news. I mean, like we talked about before, the Wright brothers on December 17, 1903, with the invention of the Wright Flyer, which is now primitive, Western world teaching would have us believe that before 1903, nothing motorized flew, period.
Well, I got a question from Barb about the USOs, because it's a new term for her. Is there proof that the USOs exist under the ocean, and what is the proof?
Okay, let me ask you all listening here today this very simple question. Do you really want to go out and find these UFOs and USOs, and this question USOs? Do you really want to know where they've been hiding? They've been hiding here longer than most of you even know of, and they've been right under our noses, residing in the depths of Earth's ocean the whole time. It's the biggest catch of the sea. Oh, impossible, you say? Well, then let's make it priority number one to prove me wrong. I mean, when was the last time you booked a vacation to the bottom of the ocean? Exactly never. We don't go there because we can't get there. There's only a handful of submersibles, of elite deep-sea unmanned drones and ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, that can penetrate to the extreme depths of the ocean. And remember, less than 1% of the deep-sea floor bed or the deep-sea floor has been discovered. We know more about the moon and the lunar surface than we do about the deep sea. Even our best submarines that we know of have a crush depth or collapse depth of 7,000 feet, where if you go deeper than that, the submarine will implode. I mean, when you break it down, we are rookies sitting on the sidelines when it comes to traveling in space, as well as into the depths and extreme depths of our oceans.
I have always argued that instead of spending so much money on space travel and space exploration, we really should be investigating what is under the oceans, because the way we're depleting resources on this planet, who knows, aside from USOs, the other things, the valuable things that could be farmed from the oceans.
Yes, ma'am. This is very true. We've got to really open our minds and have an outside-of-the-box style of thinking to question what is and to see what isn't. We can't have this narrow, dogmatic viewpoint at this point in time. It's already 2010, 2012 is coming up. But let me tell you all this. There's a very good reason this subject is governed, owned, and regulated by the black operations world, because they believe this subject to be their prerogative and that the civilian world needs to keep out of their business. They think it's their exclusive right to own this subject. There's a reason why this subject is untouchable, even to former senators and former presidents who in the past have been given the constant runaround and who are habitually stonewalled. People need to realize that presidents and senators come and go with their terms, but clandestine intelligence agencies last forever.
Forever.
The black world believes that this subject constitutes national security, and here's why. These are radically advanced innovations. I mean, we don't know if these extraterrestrial cultures are 10,000 years ahead of us, 50,000 years ahead of us, a million years ahead of us. We just don't know. But these UFOs and USOs are able to penetrate our most restricted and protected airspace, evade and outmaneuver our fastest jets, and travel imperviously through the different mediums of water, ocean, and space. They can go to the depths of our ocean, fly around in Earth's atmosphere, and exit Earth's atmosphere and fly around into the abyss of space without problem. There is nothing in our arsenal that we know of right now that can do all three. We have subs for the ocean, of course, planes for the sky that litter the sky from Hong Kong to New York, and we have a space shuttle for space. They have all three built into one machine. And people really need to understand that UFO does not necessarily entail little green men from Mars. That's how counterintelligence agencies and disinformation campaigns keep the subject ridiculed so that there's never any progress made in the civilian world. But like I was saying, UFO does not necessarily entail little green men from Mars. A UFO is just their type of aircraft. It's their type of plane. It's that simple. What's impossible to us is very possible to them. Now, we're not quite there yet technologically, but we are quickly breaking down the barriers between science fiction and science reality. So once they have this craft, like for example, we use Roswell, 1947, what crashed into the New Mexico desert in July of 1947, because most people have heard of that. It's a household name, Roswell, New Mexico. Once they have a craft like that, they will take it into an underground labyrinth or an underground facility such as Area 51 or something like that, and they'll reverse engineer it. Because once the blueprint is ascertained within the covert underground black program laboratories, for example, once again, Lockheed Skunk Works, that are conducting well-funded black programs, the technology is then stemmed into the military-industrial complex along with defense contractors so that they can leverage and deploy these radically advanced systems against our military adversaries. And what I am stressing in my book is that the selfish black operations world cannot hoard this topic to themselves. This ufology subject is something that must be shared with the civilian world, because once the ufology subject is finally opened up to the civilian world, let's face it, it's going to create millions of new jobs, which are going to propel our species into the frontier of space and beyond. Let's face it, I mean, Earth is already getting a little bit too crowded with its 6.5 billion people, so I think the time has come to venture on out and try to colonize a new area. We need to have, by this point, civilian prodigies working alongside brilliant military minds, because once we seriously have that collaborative and joint effort, we will finally be able to get into the intergalactic game.
Yeah. If I can interrupt you, we got to take a break here for a minute. Just hang with us. You're listening to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We will be right back.
Get you out of sight.
WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 6:37 p.m. Give us a call, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600.
I think it's 7:37.
What is it?
7:37.
What did I say?
6:37.
You have no idea where you are or what time it is, Jordan. Again.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the guest. I'm still here. You still with us, Drew?
I am, yes, sir.
You've messed Jordan up. He can't think straight
My
now.
ears are still smoking.
Jordan can never think straight. He just needs another beer, that's all.
I need a nap.
Yeah.
That's what.
Well, Drew, we had a phone call. Somebody wanted to know about the correlation between Edgar Cayce and Atlantis and all of that kind of stuff.
Atlantis, when do you want to... That's really not a subject of expertise under my belt.
Okay. All right. Well, I just, he called and
That's
asked.
a spoke-up wheel, but I don't think I could dive in too deeply on that one.
Well, I understand that.
Badoom.
Well, I wanted to. What in your opinion is going to happen December 21st, 2012, or thereabouts? Is it going to be an entire apocalyptic event, or I've heard people say that it's simply going to be like a change of consciousness for all people? What do you think is actually going to happen?
Well, there's many things that I believe that could happen, and once again, my book is called Open Your Eyes to 2012 and Beyond, and I'd implore you to visit me on my webpage at www.openyoureyes to2012andbeyond.com. But there are many things that could happen. There's many clues, so many clues that we can't shrug them off and ignore. I think people need to realize and just think back not too long ago. Do you remember the one small Icelandic volcano that shut down and crippled all of Europe?
Yep.
Business could not be conducted because of one small volcano that erupted, and then a jet stream carried it right over Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
Okay, that's just one volcano, people. People need to open their eyes to see that if a domino effect occurred, if polar shift did happen, and a domino effect occurred with volcanoes triggering eruptions across the globe, we would be in some serious trouble. And we live right now in America where there are two super volcanoes. One is Yellowstone National Park, and then the other one is Mammoth Mountain in California. Now, if Yellowstone popped and it erupted, that would be such an extreme amount of geothermal energy. That super volcano would spew so much sulfuric debris into the atmosphere, into the upper stratosphere, and that would be carried at a rapid rate by the fast-moving jet stream. One volcano, just one supervolcano, would affect the entire world. Those sulfuric particles, the sunlight, cannot penetrate through that. It bounces off, and the photosynthetic process would not be able to occur. So plant life would die. Cattle cannot eat the plant life. We depend on plant life and cattle or livestock for our well-being. And since the sunlight would bounce off the sulfuric particles, this would, in a sense, cool the planet. Not to mention the air would become havoc where we could not breathe that. It would become poisonous. Now, that's just a small setup. That's just Yellowstone National Park, one extreme super volcano.
Okay, so what's going to cause that? What would cause? I have heard that one of the theories are sunspots, that this huge electromagnetic wave is going to hit, and it would cause volcanoes to erupt because of the bare earth and crystal surrounding them, which would indeed then trigger earthquakes because of the fault lines. But what do you think is going to be the trigger to this?
That's a very good question, and you're onto something there. Is it just coincidence that solar maximus is to peak in 2012? Mm-hmm. Like you said, solar sunspots are growing, and the sun is heating up and supposed to peak in 2012. Is this just all coincidence? And what solar weather is they're definitely. There weren't jobs to study this back in the day, and now this is a great focus of not only the military but the civilian world as well. Because what happens in space weather, especially solar storms that release gamma rays, that greatly dictates life on Earth. Because everything we know and we take for granted basically runs on a microchip or circuitry, and an EMP or electromagnetic pulse is a word that everybody should remember, because that short lines all of our digital toys. And solar storms and space weather greatly dictate life on Earth. So we really have to realize that solar storms are starting to spike, and solar flares are becoming a serious threat to our way of life and our digital toys that we love so much, our wireless technology.
Well, just right here, we have satellite dishes up for our Fox feed and CNN and things like that.
I think every single one of us has a cell phone here.
Well, but it plays havoc. We can tell when there are solar flares going off, because we can't get half of the stuff through the station that we need to get through.
That, in a sense, could be our Achilles heel.
Oh, I'm sure. For many years now, we've been talking about the electrical grid in this country, the infrastructure, and all it would take would be one good blast. And our infrastructure is so poor in this country, we literally would be in the dark.
I don't think people really realize how vulnerable we are to an EMP.
No, I don't think they do either.
Because that would put us back to the Pony Express era.
Yep.
Wow.
It would. It would.
So now, can you? There might be some people out there may not know what an EMP is. Can you kind of explain just a little bit?
An EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. And like I said, it's a word that everyone should remember, because in the future, you're going to be hearing that word a lot. If you really want to dissect what it means, jump on my webpage and I can inform you. Once again, my webpage is www.openyoureyes2012andbeyond.com.
No, we have all your links up on our website, too.
Yeah, and actually your book goes directly to your website. Just so people know, you can get an ebook version, print version. But we do have a phone call, so.
Yes, we do. This is John, and he's got a question for you, Drew.
Hi, John.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I heard halfway your UFO stuff. I think it's a bunch of lies, but have you ever heard of William Cooper? Bill Cooper?
I have not heard of Bill Cooper.
Yeah, well, he was killed, murdered by the feds. He was a big guy in the military and intelligence, and he even fell for that stuff for a while, but he found out that they had plans. That's one of the ways of bringing in that New World Order. They were going to...
Oh, wow.
They were going to... He said they had technology, but all this UFO and alien crap was all manipulated. So remember that one years ago where the guy got on television, or no, not it was for television, radio. Orson Welles,
Yeah.
War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
And Bill Cooper, he wrote "Behold a Pale Horse," right?
War of the Worlds, yeah. And,
No, I mean William Cooper. He wrote "Behold a Pale Horse."
Right.
Yeah.
And he was. Fact is, he predicted 9/11, and he warned. Alex Jones is really a phony. He was on that radio trying to work people up on that Y2K, and but William Cooper exposed him what he was doing, and and he was killed.
And you said, how was he killed? Just out of curiosity.
I guess the FBI or something. They just went up there and shot him. Rush Limbaugh said he was one of the most dangerous men on earth, and Clinton. They hated him because he had more talk show, biggest talk show host internationally of any talk show host, and he was just too dangerous to have around, And but William Cooper was he's up there with his dog, and I guess he sent his wife and kids out of the country a year or so before. But he was in the military, and he had all this actually classified intelligence information saying how they had planned it. And even though Reagan came out, of course Reagan, all them presidents are in on it, and they said, well, that's Reagan says that would be a way to unite all the nations, to say we're being invaded from outer space. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the global warming thing. That lies of that crap.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, John. Thanks for the
Thank you for your call. Yeah, William Cooper was.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, he was wanted for tax evasion, and they actually did an assault on his house, and he died in the assault. That was back in November 2001.
Well, these agencies, these black agencies, they are masters of their black craft and have much more than just a hammer in their toolbox. And when a threat to their agenda presents itself, their quarterback will send out his henchmen to eliminate the problem. And they excel in cleansing, rinsing, and sanitizing these types of situations, so that what you'll read about in the newspaper and what the public is programmed to believe, and what you'll see on TV, is that they died in a mysterious car accident or from food poisoning. It's their MO. It's a black world hallmark. It's all orchestrated like a piece of theater where they are receiving Oscars for their acting performances. I mean, if you know how to read between the lines, you'll know that they got, in a sense, touched for knowing too much and for getting too close to the truth.
Well, see, I know it was up on tax evasion was one of the reasons they decided to.
When do they do that? When do they go in and shoot people for taxes?
Well, they had the warrant for that. Then all of a sudden they have a warrant for a deadly weapon. He's by himself in the house because he had and then all of a sudden he's dead. So and he had some out there ideas, but he was like you said, a radio host and everything. But he kind of goes in the same thing. You're saying that there's perhaps they're kind of hiding the ideas of UFOs in some degree.
Well, they've already begun desensitizing and conditioning the public slowly, of course, slowly seeping it in through TV shows, commercials, movies, and advertisements for the gradual acceptance of UFO and extraterrestrial life. You can see it if you have that vision, you can see it. They are slowly starting to seep it in and desensitize and condition the public right now.
I don't want to bring up TV, but you got V. I mean, and I know exactly what you're saying. The more shows that they can get out there and turn it to kind of soften the appearance of what it is, the easier it will be to be accepted, because the things that shocked people in the 50s from TV and the movies are now everyday things that we live with. So if you slowly put this stuff into common culture, the more easily it will be accepted when it finally is made public.
This is very true. And the audience really needs to understand that there's a very good reason why we've made more advances in the last 100 years than the last 5,000 years combined.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what crashed in July of 1947 in the New Mexico desert at Roswell, and the reverse engineering of alien technology has propelled our species exponentially. That technology has been seeded into giants of American industry. Quantum leaps have been made technologically from what we were able to ascertain from the alien blueprint.
Yep. Oh, I believe in that reverse engineering. I really think we've gotten an awful lot of things from
that was Corso's big idea, right?
Yeah.
Do people the audience, everybody listening right now, reverse engineering is basically in a nutshell like this. You have a finished product. Say I have my computer. It's right in front of me. So we have this finished product that we found, right? But we have to figure out how it was made. So they're going to take it apart and reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
They're not putting it together from start to finish. It's from finish to start.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, we had somebody asking, are you afraid of 2012?
No, I'm not afraid of 2012. We need to unite. We need to love more, hate less with the facts at hand, live differently because of this knowledge. But I am not afraid. And there are some machines out there right now that can actually save the American, or not the Americans, not only the Americans, but the worldwide species of human beings. They're called tunnel boring machines. And the public would probably know about these from the subway tunnels that they bore out, but clandestine military agencies use nuclear-powered tunnel boring machines to basically build their underground military installations and laboratories that are hidden underground within the catacombs of Earth's crust. But the public has no idea what's going on because this is out of sight, out of mind, and it's happening under our feet right now. So tunnel boring machines, you can check that out on my webpage. It's under the Ancient Astronaut tab. But these are the machines that have the ability to preserve the human race. If the surface of planet Earth becomes inhospitable, we must learn to live underground like ants. If the surface of planet Earth becomes havoc and inhospitable. I mean, you can get a rough idea of this from pretty much Vietnam era. Every time our bombers would come overhead, our B-52s, the Viet Cong and the NVA would run underground, and they'd have these whole underground compounds built out with schools, hospitals, all that kind of stuff. So that's just a rough idea. But we will have to live underground if we cannot live on the surface of planet Earth.
Well, Joe, I want to just remind you again that we have all of your information, your book, your websites, all up on our website, whispersradio.com. If any of the listeners want to check it out, get there, look at it, and get in touch with you about anything going on. Is that okay with you?
That's great. Do we have any more time to talk? Or
we are out of time.
Oh, God, we only got to touch the tip of the iceberg, too. I got so much more good stuff.
We're going to have you back.
That sounds great.
All right, great. Well, we got your email. Just give me an email. We'll talk then.
We'll get it scheduled up. Hey, Drew, thank you very much for your time today and sharing your views with us.
I appreciate that. And remember, folks, one person can make a difference, and every person should try. That's from John F. Kennedy.
All right.
All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I feel empowered.
You should.
All right.
I know you're all about it. I got you. You're jumping up and down back there.
Because I truly believe that we know of what the government knows.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows I'm all about conspiracy theories. And I've heard too many people say the same thing about the solar flares and that kind of. If there's going to be an apocalyptic event, that's going to be the cause of it. And they have scientific proof these things are getting worse.
Yeah.
Now, will it happen in 2012 on December 21st? I'm not gonna
see. But what about what Giorgio said last week? Time is so drawn out from the monks back in the day that it's probably like 2016.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
But, jumbled, yeah.
Yeah, but so I'm not saying the date itself is important.
Just that it will
But there is a chance, and we're raping. Think about this: how many mountaintops, not only in this country, in this state, are being leveled off and left bare?
Well, you were talking about something earlier. The tower they were building or something.
What's that?
Babel?
No, not the Tower of Babel. Y'all were talking about a gas tower or something at the Highland.
The gas well.
Gas well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can you kind of just...
I just
Should we even talk about that?
I don't know too much about it. no.
Jordan?
I thought you were at the training.
I was.
Are you going to say anything about it?
Were you at the training?
I was at
course you
church.
Oh, sure you were.
Brandon skipped church to go to the training.
I did.
well, as
And he
well
does-
as
he
he
can't
should
talk
have. God will thank you for that.
Well,
And you will too if it's your house that's going to blow up.
Well,
that's,
okay, the stats are like 1 in 1,000
Oh,
blows
God.
up, and they're putting 30,000 of them in West Virginia. One of them up at the Highlands.
Okay, see, that's pretty bad odds,
Yeah.
truthfully.
And the concussion.
And how many have blown up in Marshall County?
Well, listen, the concussion blast can kill it has the possibility to kill everybody within a half-mile radius.
See?
So,
I-
hey,
serious.
shop at the Highlands.
Did anybody bother to watch Gasland?
See, I brought that up the other day. I was talking to the chief.
That movie was disturbing, especially when they're talking about Colorado and they're showing, these. I saw my mountain in the background, and it's like, oh my gosh, I know exactly where these people's ranches are, and they have
I
no
remember
water,
talking about
everything's
this, yeah.
dying,
wow.
So yeah, this is.
Very
What was it? They
sad.
were lighting the faucet
Oh yeah,
water?
you turn your faucet on and you can light your water. Your water
I've seen
burns.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Gasland is a pretty powerful documentary. And that should, everybody that, was thinking about drilling. But if I had land and they were coming and offering me $4,000 an acre, have at it. Yeah. I'll just make sure
Let me
I've
find the
got
lease.
city water. Well, let's be real here. But it is scary. It is scary. And part of it's mostly because the government doesn't do anything to really,
To regulate it.
yeah.
Jordan, your landlord said they're drilling under your apartment. Just so you know.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, well, when Mark moves, he's there.
I'm out
You'll
too.
know.
But Mark's like, by the way, we're leaving for a couple months.
Well.
All right,
I
Nikki.
thought that guy was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Angry. He's an angry young man.
He was angry.
Yes, he is. But I thought he was very interesting.
Jordan doesn't like anger.
Well, no, it took me, my brain's not fast enough. Like, I'm going to have to listen to the show like 6 times to catch it all.
People listen to this show, they must think so badly of Jordan. Every show, I can't keep up.
If you stay off your phone,
Slow
you might
down.
have a chance.
Well, I got people listening saying they're like pulling over to the side of the road to try to catch what these people are saying. I think it's funny. Nikki, who we got next week?
Okay, next week we have Paul Hellyer.
Please tell me he's not a werewolf or something.
He's a former defense minister of
Oh, that's right.
Canada.
He's a Canadian.
He's a
He's
Canadian.
a Canadian Canuck.
A.
We're going to be talking about
A.
UFOs with him. Should be interesting. It's maybe one of the first government officials we've had.
Why are you Canadian? Why do you have weird bacon?
Why is your bacon circled?
These are the type of questions that we'll be asking. And then,
Because that's what, when you get people who are in the government, you got to get them with the big questions.
Yes, absolutely. How come you can't eat American bacon? You have to have
Like the
your
rest
own.
of us.
Yes.
why do you have to say eh? Okay, and
Just say Z.
wow.
Just say
Oh,
Z.
God.
And then Varla Ventura talking about bizarre things. She's got
Okay.
no, seriously, her
That
book.
leaves that
Bizarre
one wide
things.
open.
I'm trying to think of the name of her
Wow.
book. Bizarre.
Bizarre things.
It's
could
pretty
be
much it.
anything.
I wish I had the exact title. Give me one second.
So like, we're going to write tonight on Whispers, bizarre things.
Well, her book of the bizarre, freaky facts, and it's all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, it'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, it should be fun.
All right, everybody. Until next week, don't be afraid. Only believe.